Welcome to the Stats on StatsPod. Yeah.
We're live, everybody. Oh, we live, huh? Just like that. We live. Just like that. All right. Well, hey, how are you today, Len? Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too. I'm enjoying being home for a little while. You know, I'm this road warrior, so home, as I typically say, is just where they send my mail.
Hey, that part. So when you say road warrior, are you like? Because I know you got a lot of big stuff going on. So are you on like a press tour, low key, right now?
Not really on a press tour at the moment. I'm still working, my day job. I'm a what's called an ethical hacker or a pen tester for my day job. So I go out with my company and we will, like, if Stats on Stats wanted to make sure their website and everything was cool, you guys could call us up and they basically turn me loose and I'll come in and I'll break into your computers and everything else and then come back and hand you a report and go, this is what you need to fix. So I am kind of that living embodiment of it takes a thief to catch a thief.
I just want to put out there, I do not consent to you doing that. Proceed.
Well, let me put it to you like this. I've spent some time in state-funded, resorts, and I don't like the amenities. The food's terrible. The beds are just lumpy. So the only time I do that is if I've got my lawyers involved. We've got a lot of legal paperwork in. I basically get the get out of jail free card.
Boom. That's the way. That makes the most sense to me, for sure. So, I mean, what do you have planned for today, aside from talking to us?
Well, I'm actually working on my new podcast venture. If you want to know the truth, I'm starting a second one. Not only am I a member of the Cyber Cognition with Justin Hutchins, but I'm starting my own side project. It's called the Borg Radio Hour. So I deal with a lot of that intersection point between technology and biology, and there's really not a lot out there for people who like the idea of selective augmentation or even where medicine and technology are going as far as how it enhances the life's I don't want to say life expectancy, but the quality of life for humanity at large. So case in point, I was reading an article and don't quote me on where it's from, but I want to say it was from the New England Journal of Medicine. And they were doing an experiment where they injected stem cells into a liver that the byproduct of this experiment was it created a couple of different enzymes that when combined actually created insulin. So we have been able to now through current technology take in a liver, which is something that most of us think of as doing nothing more than purifying, the fluids going through our body. We can now make it produce insulin like a pancreas. It's still in the very early stages, but to me, it just kind of points out that the human body and the genetic material that we're built of and from, it's not locked into its primary default purpose. And it really opens the door to what can we do in the future for people with diabetes or, and if it'll work with a pancreas, what else can we do? I mean, can I make my kidneys start, I don't know, increasing testosterone or estrogen? We don't know. But it's to me, it's just that first unlocking when it comes to the human body that we can do more than what we were born with and how we expected it to work.
You're a healthy person, aren't you? You eat like really healthy.
Oh, heck no.
Oh, really? I'm over here I'm like, you talking about livers. Nobody can drink anymore. Stay away from drinking, y'all.
No, I'm a firm believer the liver is evil and should be destroyed.
Oh my God.
Right on. All right, so usually this is the part where we go, do you know what's about to happen before we ask you the hard-hitting questions? But you have no idea because we didn't meet with you beforehand. So surprise,
which I prefer if you want to know the truth.
Ooh.
I really prefer that. I do. I mean, I get sent questions for interviews all the time and I never read them because I think that's disingenuous to you as the person that's interviewing me, but also to the audience. I'd rather get the real answers and the real emotions and the real response in real time. It's put me in some weird situations, but none that I regret.
This being one of them.
Hey, look. Okay, well, on that note, so we're gonna play a game.
I like games.
How's your 90s R&B knowledge?
Ooh, R&B, not good. Now, if you want to go with slamming thrash metal or death metal or even blues, we can go there. But, you know, I'll be honest, I didn't really develop a taste for softer, we'll just say mellower music until I started getting old. You know, before that, it was, I was a rebel without a clue.
Okay.
I love that.
Meanwhile,
let's try
I run to 90s R&B. Slow jams, that's my stuff. Like, if it's slow, the slower, the better. Anyways, all right, so we're going to play a game called That's My Jam, 90s R&B edition. See, I'm letting it play, Anthony. I'm letting it play. Look at that.
I like it.
All right.
I hope I'm not supposed to know who that is because I'm already losing.
Oh, see, it's not even R&B, so you're good. All right, so so here are the rules. We're gonna play 4 covers of 90s R&B songs. You have until the end of the song to guess either the name of the artist or the name of the song. If you can guess both, it's a flex, but the points are still the same. You get 2 guesses. Well, 3, I guess.
Well, I am so not winning this one.
That's okay. Most people don't. So you're good. Use ChatGPT.
Use ChatGPT.
Oh, God.
Nope. I don't need ChatGPT. I am Len GPT.
I was going to say he probably is like the GPT. I'm just, okay, anyways.
We'll talk about that before this is over, but come on, hit me.
All right, song number 1.
Everybody, move your body. Now do it. Here's something that's gonna make you move and groove. Hey, DJ, keep playing that song all night, on and on and on.
See, unfortunately, right now, I'm just going back through my 90s R&B and going, who do I even remember that was a female R&B singer? And I'm like, down to 3. And I don't think it's Toni Braxton.
That's fair.
That was a good guess.
That's fair, though. That's a good guess.
And well, that's not that it's a good guess. That's just one of the only 3 that I can remember, period.
At least it was 90s.
Not Whitney Houston.
It's not. That's true.
That was my 2 guesses. I'm out.
Okay.
for
All right.
one.
Okay. It was Hey Mr. DJ by, is it Zayn? Is that how you say it? Zayn. Hey Mr. So, and just to be clear, the songs are all going to be sung by a female because they're covers for copyright purposes.
Okay. But it could be a male original artist, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, I am still screwed. But let's try. Come on.
Hey.
Anthony, I like the only lowering the volume of the music so it can play in the background this time. Let's keep that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways.
All right.
Song number 2.
Let's embarrass
please.
me again.
Let's get it.
If tomorrow is Judgment Day and I'm standing on the front line and the Lord asks me what I did with my life,
Tiffany be singing the whole
I
song.
will say I spent it with you. If I wake up in World War
Okay,
III,
we're going to start back again and say Toni Braxton.
No.
Okay, it could be a male singer. Okay, who were
Who was your second guess originally?
it's okay.
my original second guess was what Whitney Houston.
There you go.
Yeah.
He got it.
Hey, look at you. You got one.
We cooking. All right. Song number 3.
All right. So now I'm down to where I only know 2.
Lifetime of stability. Anything you want of me. Nothing
I know
is
this one.
impossible for you. There are no words.
Can we just skip to the
or
chorus?
ways to show my love.
Sometimes she don't even sing
All the
it.
thoughts I'm thinking of.
I am so done here.
'Cause his
All
life
right.
is no
The only third female R&B singer that I can remember was Tracy Chapman.
That was an interesting.
I liked
No,
her.
but yeah, that's interesting. No, it's Kenny Lattimore.
Don't even know who that is.
That's totally fine. All right, song number 4, Anthony.
Have you ever loved someone so much you thought you'd die? giving so much of yourself. It seems the only way. Tell me
Bobby
what
Brown.
you want. And
Hey, actually, close. Close. Do you know the group he was in?
I'm trying to remember what group that dude was in, and I refuse to, go to my master, Lord GPT, to get the answer. Like, can I get a 50% on this one?
Yeah, let's give him
Half a
no.
point?
Just give him the point. Give him the point. Wait, I'm over here like, wait, let me check.
We don't even know.
Oh, that's
No,
Candy
that,
Rain.
oh no, that's not Bobby
Candy-
Brown.
yeah, that's
not
Candy
Bobby-
Rain.
Yeah, that's Candy Rain. That's Candy Rain by
All
Soul
right,
for
well,
real.
Yeah.
So that's okay, you got one.
If anybody's just is listening to this, that was actually sung live, and she has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, she is really good. She's really good.
amazing.
Shout out
I
to
love her.
Guyana. Follow her at Destination Guyana. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. You did better than most, by the way. You got 1 point.
Yeah, I got
sort of.
one.
Yeah, that's better than most. So you're good.
Now, if we
All
ever
right,
do this again with hair, if we want to flip this around and I'm going to do like 80s hair bands, I think I could beat y'all.
let us know when you're going to have us on. We'll have a list ready.
We're going to do this.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the reason people actually come here. If it's your first time, welcome. If you already know the vibes, welcome back. I'm Jordan, a.k.a. Jay, a.k.a. The Chosen One, a.k.a. Big Stepper, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Tiffany V. We're excited that you're here, as always, to join in for us as we talk to leaders in the IT, technology, cyberspaces. Speaking of one of those leaders, we have someone here with us today who is going to start off by telling you who he is, what he does, and how long he has been in the tech space. And this is your moment to take it away.
Awesome. My name is Len Ngo, opposite of yes. And if you ask my parents, I was named very, very appropriately because I've heard Len. No. That's my entire life. I am an ethical hacker pen tester with CW PenSec. Prior to this, I was the lead technical evangelist for CyberArk software for the last 11 years, and I have been in tech basically for the last 35 years. I've been breaking into computers since I attribute my first computer hack to a Commodore 64. I've worked on everything from mainframes to OS2 Warp. I've been around for basically the entire computer revolution and been breaking into them basically the whole time. My big claim to fame is I am recognized as the world's first augmented ethical hacker. And by augmented, I mean I have selectively implanted myself with 11 different microchips with varying functionalities from RFID to NFC. I have a couple of chips that are actually FIPS compliant, blockchain enabled, and I actually get OTPs via an implanted device inside my arm that's actually keyed to my cell phone. I have magnets in my fingers, which allow me more than just to do really cool party tricks. This actually provides the human being with an additional sense that we're not born with. We call it magnetic vision. So I can actually feel electromagnetic fields and currents, which gives me the ability to interact and interface to this world in a way that most of us will never understand because, we hear about things like microwaves and radio waves and how they go through us all day, but nobody ever gives it a second thought. I walk down the hallway of a hospital where there's an MRI, and I know the types of energy fields that are hitting our bodies, and it makes me much more aware of the space that we actually inhabit. I can compromise mobile devices through physical contact. So if you put your cell phone in my hand, I have multiple different attack methodologies that I can actually compromise your mobile device. I have a credit card in the top of my hand, and I can actually tap to pay. So I'm not the first person who has ever done this. What I am is the first person that's come out and really tried to bring it to the forefront of the rest of the cybersecurity community's awareness, because there's over 100,000 of us walking the earth right now. And how do you, as a security practitioner, stop an attack if you don't know that attack even exists? Because we're going to get into this. I'm waiting for the big questions. Because I'm going to get it. I'm the only guy I think I know that has my own FAQ.
Well, I mean, what I want to know though is how long it took you to grow the mustache.
Well, this has only been going on for about 6 months.
Oh, okay. I mean, because that could have easily been your claim to fame. Very,
Oh, no. The beard is the signature trademark.
Right. I gotta ask you about the credit card though, by the way, because you said you can tap to. How do you like when it expires? Like, what do you?
You got to get it taken out and another one put in.
So hold on. So you actually have the card, like the actual card is like the card itself.
Just the chip.
Yeah,
Just the chip.
Okay.
Like you don't need that
Just the
much.
chip. And like I said, I loved showing all of my cyber people this because we're all very, very familiar with things like one-time passwords, right? And just because I'm doing this live, I know it's not going to work the first time because I did not sacrifice a 3-piece KFC meal before I came on here. So I have an implant right here in my forearm. This is actually a chip called the Vivo Key. And this is actually a FIPS compliant. This can do HMAC SHA-1, act as a security device. And it started to, I moved it too quick. Come on. And, like I said, I should have went to KFC beforehand. There we go. So in order to get to my OTP codes, you literally have to scan the implant with this keyed device. And the thing I love about this is, unlike most standard OTPs from, say, Duo, Okta, Microsoft, pretty much any of them, as soon as that 60-second timer counts down, it just presents another key for you. This will not provide another key until I rescan again. So this is one of the few chips that I've actually implanted in my body that will actually enhance my security. So one of the things that I like to throw out there, and I challenge you now that you've seen this, we're living in a world that is being overtaken by AI and deep fake. How do you prove that you are who you say you are? There is no SSL or private key to an individual human being, at least not for the biologically default. I realistically have something that can validate my individual identity in a world where we can no longer believe what we see or what we hear.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm like, wow, that's valid. That's valid.
I need to know what happened, or at what point did you get to a space where you realized that you wanted to make sure the tech was inside of you?
See, like I said, I was waiting for it, and you just gave me that nice little Nerf toss. Here we come, coming in. Here comes the swing. So I've been, I didn't start my career the normal way. I didn't come up through going to college for cybersecurity or computer science. I actually went to college to become a draftsman, believe it or not. So I was going to be one of those guys built architecting buildings and things. And it was only by a stroke of kismet that I was put into a position where I was working at my first real job as a design engineer, and they split my time half the day with our current IT guy because he was overworked. And I found very quickly that I had an aptitude for computers and information technology that just seemed to come naturally compared to having to really try to learn how to be a good draftsman. And the other point is, I didn't come up learning the safe way of doing things. I was an active black hat most of my life. I'm a retired 1%er motorcycle gang member out of Detroit and Tennessee, and spent most of my life as an active criminal. So I think that background gives me a very, very unique perspective on security, and I don't have to think about doing bad things. It just comes naturally. So when I walk into a room, the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at where are the exits, where are the security cameras, is there open ports? I was very good at what I did. And when it wasn't until I was given my first granddaughter, and it just broke me. And the only things I was really good at was, fighting and breaking into computers. And the older I got, the fighting thing just really wasn't working for me anymore. You just don't come snapping back. So I started using my skill set for the purposes of trying to enhance, company security. And it was really kind of a strange journey for me to get here. When I first started working in the industry, they wouldn't even allow me to wear short sleeve shirts. Because I'm tattooed from my wrists to my feet, I didn't fit the mold. And it took me going to Black Hat in 2018 when I was working at one of my former companies, and they were like, it's hot, Len. You can wear a polo, and nobody wanted to talk to the guys that looked like every salesperson in every single booth. They wanted to talk to the guy that looked like was the vision in their head of what a hacker looked like. And I've been working that angle, and it's actually given me so many opportunities over the last 11 years. I have presented my research in front of the European Union ministries. I presented my research in front of the cyber emergency response teams for the Baltic states. I've presented in 73 different countries and basically every major cybersecurity event around the world. And it's my hope that I can be the ambassador to, don't get me wrong, I don't like the term of what I am. I didn't make it. It's been around since the 50s, but I'm what people who selectively augment themselves, we are known as transhumans. And anytime you put the word trans into anything, it can be very, very quickly overshadowed by other ideologies that are using similar terms. And I have nothing against any of the other groups, but what it does is it seems to automatically invoke some type of a response before people realize that this has nothing to do with my ideologies or my preferences. This is something that can basically affect the entire human race. And when it comes down to it, anyone that's using a glucose meter, a continuous glucose meter, a stem cell for pain management, pacemakers, hearing aids, they're all the same as me. The only difference is I'm choosing to do it electively, whereas they're doing it for medical purposes. And that is essentially the two philosophies of the two godfathers of transhumanism, a natural scientist out of the UK named Julian Huxley back in 1950. And then there's a second gentleman by the name of, and he changed his name to literally FM 2030. And he was one of the actual godfathers of cryogenics. Dr. Huxley's philosophy stated that anyone should be able to use any external tools to maintain the status quo of the human condition. The oldest example of that would be a pirate with a peg leg. If you lose a leg, you need a leg, but it should stop at just maintaining base default biological functionality. Mr. FM 2030 said if it can enhance the human condition, then everything should be available and on the table. So if I worked at a foundry or if I worked in a factory and I could get a prosthetic limb that had a grip strength that could, of 5 tons, according to FM, this should be on the table for us because it would make my humanity easier, my existence easier. Dr. Huxley says, no, it should be just a hand or a hook like what we see now. And I really take a look at what we're seeing just overall within the species, not just Americans. Everybody is pushing as close to that digital line as they can get, but everybody wants to do it from the comfort of their own couch. I'm just the person that has decided that the couch isn't good enough anymore.
Period. So it feels like your transition into tech, it was kind of like you said, you found that you had an aptitude for it. But at what point, right? What was the turning point for you, right? You had an aptitude. You were like, I'm going to do this. I enjoy this. At what point, though, did you feel like you were like, I want this to really be a part of me? Right? When did that start? Like, what sort of
that was in 2020.
That was?
That was in 2020. And honestly, I had heard about individual selective augmentation a long time before that. There was a group called Grindhouse Wetware, and they were out around 2014, 2015. And this was a bunch of guys who decided to literally take microchips and cover them in 2-part epoxy and in their garages, take scalpels and start shoving chips into their bodies. And they actually were the first company to ever release a consumer grade implantable product. It was called the Circadia. And the second was called the North Star. And it was a big implant, kind of like the one you see here on the top of my hand. But instead of mine being an RFID and an NFC chip, this had a little battery in it, and you could remotely power it up, and it would glow because it had LEDs in it. So it would literally make you look like Iron Man. And even back in 2014, 2015, being a Star Wars nerd that I am, I'm like, this is really, really cool. But in 2014, 2015, I was committing active digital fraud and crime. So having a big light up sign that says, hey, look at me, probably anti-productive for trying to remain obfuscated. So I thought it was stupid at the time, not realizing that these were the pioneers that were laying the bricks of a road that it would take me another 5 years to learn to walk. So the first time I got the idea of actually doing the wireless type of attacks, it was during DEF CON. And I was watching everybody using NFC to beam their contact cards to other people in the booths. And I'm like, why are we being so flippant about this protocol? I had never really thought about NFC up until that point. And I want to say this was about 2019. And I started looking into it, and it was like, okay, it's the backing protocol for Apple Pay and Android Pay, but we have NFC triggers. So it's more than just beaming somebody your contact information. I found out that I can actually do URL redirections through NFC tags. I can do, with that alone, I got the idea of, well, what if I got social engineered somebody's phone out of their hands, and I could, if it was an Android, I can just download an infected or malicious APK. If it's an iPhone, I can redirect them to a website that's infected with beef, the browser extension exploit framework, and I can hook them with Java that way. Okay. So I actually started out by using a ring that had an NFC chip in it to vet out the attack vectors. And once I did that, it was like, okay, I actually went to a restaurant here in Austin called the Oasis, and they use like these Android tablets for their check-in system for the guests. I social engineered the tablet out of the guy's hand under the guise of, I'm thinking about buying one of these. And I took it all the way up to the point where all I had to do was say yes, and I would have had a reverse connection into that Android device.
What?
And it was like, okay, the methodology works. And I was sitting on a canal in Amsterdam, late 2019. And as a lot of people, when they travel, they'll collect bumper stickers or spoons or shot glasses. I go to the local tattoo parlors and collect stickers. So the back of my laptops are just basically tattoo parlors from all over the world. And I was sitting there, and I heard one of the body piercers talking about another piercing parlor that was the next town down the railroad line in Utrecht, where they had RFID and NFC implants that they were doing in the shop. And I was like, okay, the North Star I thought was kind of hokey. It was light. This has potential. This has the ability for input and output. So I did not get the chance to go down due to my time restraints on that trip, but I got the Wi-Fi on the airplane on the way home. And by the time I landed, I had realized that everything was coming from one consumer manufacturer. And the name of that company is called DangerousThings.com. And they're based out of Seattle, Washington. So because of what I did for a living for my company, being an evangelist, I traveled. I mean, I've averaged about 100,000 miles of travel per year for the last 9 years. And I needed to make sure that if I wanted to get an implant, would this prevent me from being able to travel? Would it affect my job? Would it affect my health? So it was not an immediate decision to just jump in and get these things put in. So I researched the FDA, I researched the FAA, I researched GDPR. I researched HIPAA. I went down the gamut for about a month and a half doing nothing but research around the legalities of what I'm doing. And I came up with some really, really terrifying information. First being the FDA does not have any type of pen testers or anybody that's actually doing any checking on any device, medical or not. They're leaving it to the actual manufacturers to provide them third-party reports. But the FDA does not have any type of red team that's doing any type of checking on medical devices, period. The second thing I learned is that when it comes to implantable technology, RFID, NFC implants that are being done for body modification, they are looked at as nothing other than body jewelry. So if you have a septum ring or an industrial gauge piercing in your arm or in your ear, those are looked at exactly the same as a implantable microchip that is regulated through the FCC. Nobody is looking at them any differently. Now, there's 4 different states within the United States that have specific laws in regards to human implantation. 2 of them state that you cannot be forcibly mandated to get an implant for the purposes of time and attendance through your workplace. And the other 2 are just flat out, you cannot get implanted, period. So one of the other terrifying things that I learned, and well, it helps me, but I find it very scary for the rest of the world, is once you put something inside your body, and you've asked, and so is your co-host, what would make somebody want to do this? The simple answer is as follows. Once you put them in vivo, they are given the same medical protections as any medical device via GDPR and HIPAA. So the authorities are not allowed to even ask me about them.
That's insane.
He can't get in the White House.
There
ain't no way he get in the White House. You can't get in the White House.
Absolutely insane.
So I have governmental protections that are obfuscating my tools. I told you I have an FAQ. The first question is usually, are these the same chips that are in my dog or in my cat? Same technologies, different chips. Second, how do you get through an airport? Left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Because they can't ask. Even if they see the giant bulge in my hand, all I have to do is say it's medical, and they are not legally allowed to ask me anymore anywhere within the European Union, the United Kingdom, or the United States, and most of South America.
And just like that, I feel very unsafe. I feel very unsafe.
Yeah.
I got it down to a science to where somebody timed me. And granted, it was staged. I had permission to do it. But I was able to download a reverse TCP Trojan APK onto a cell phone in the middle of a room with the owner watching me in 17 seconds.
Let's bring this into the living room though, because I'm thinking worldwide, global, and I can guarantee there are people who are listening right now who got to a point where they heard a whole bunch of letters and like me were like, slow down. In the house, I'm looking around just where I am right now, and I'm thinking about all of the things that connect to the network. There's a refrigerator, there's microwaves, there's my oven, my laundry room, but the washing machine. There's so many things in my home connected to the network. And here you come walking in the door. You're a pen tester, so every day your job is to identify weaknesses and vulnerability in a network. But now you're in my house. What, as a person who's not in tech, what would you tell someone at home right now listening they should be most concerned about when they think about this type of technology today and the surroundings that they
Do you want the honest answer? Because most people don't want to hear it.
I want to hear it.
Take a little personal responsibility for your own digital identity. Let me give you an example. If I was to walk up to either one of you ladies and just said out of the blue, can I just start rummaging through your purse and your wallets?
Sure. What, like,
Hard no.
You paying me?
No,
I'm just
no,
playing, I'm just playing.
no. You know, I ask this at every one of my talks, and I think this is one of the things that really hits and resonates the most. If I was to walk up to anybody out there and say, can I look in your purses, just rummage through them? Can I look in, just hand me your wallet and let me rummage through it? Nobody's going to say yes. Well, that's not true. I have had a couple of smart Alecs in some of my talks who literally held their wallet up. And as soon as I said, I'm not going to promise I'm giving it back, then they put it away. You know, there's always that one, you know, well, you know, there are sun flares and the flux capacity. You always got that one that, you know, wants to try and mess with the speaker. But the truth is, nobody out there is going to let me start rummaging through your personal data and your personal belongings. Why would you ever hand your cell phone to anyone? You know, how much information is in your wallet? Let's be honest. Maybe your driver's license, some credit cards, maybe some insurance cards. That's about it. You know, maybe a little bit more if it's a female. Maybe you have, you know, because you guys have purses, there's more space that you could put some stuff. But realistically, what are you going to get? Not much. But if I can get into that cell phone, how many, you probably have your medical app on there. You might have apps that are going back to your company that you work for. You have your email. You're probably doing banking on it. The amount of data that is in our mobile devices is exponentially more than we could ever put into a wallet or a purse, but yet we treat them as if they're toys. So the first thing I would say is stop expecting everyone else or there to be some amazing program or application that you can put on that is going to provide and guarantee you safety. You know, if you wouldn't walk down a dark alley that looks scary just because, you know, biologically we have this, you know, inane sense of self-preservation. That little device is a digital representation of you. If I can get into that, I can do analytics against your browsing history. I can basically build a synthetic digital version of you off of that device. And the fact that we have turned them into such a part of our daily lives, I think we've really forgotten the amount of data and the types of data that are on it. And we look at them as being safe out of the box, and we need to stop. If you wouldn't hand your credit card or your passport or your wallet to someone, don't give your phone to them. Because the truth is, like I said before, there are over 100,000 people just like me. And I've got new attacks where I'm doing, I call it implant-based smishing and phishing. So you two ladies, you know, let's say I wanted to go after one of you and you're my target. This is the most amazing spear phishing I've ever come up with. So if I wanted to go after you, I'm going to attack your partner. Because I can use through NFC triggers, I can have a pre-configured text or email. So if I'm phishing you, what's the hardest part for me? Coming up with something convincing enough for you to click on. Well, if it's coming from your partner's real email address and their real phone number, because all I have to do is social engineer the phone, my implant will create the message. All I have to do is hit send real quick. And it's coming from her actual phone number, her actual email. There's no way for you to tell that it's a fish. And you will click on that link.
This dude is never coming in my house.
Oh, I'm over here like, Anthony, shut it off.
No joke. Most of my friends and family, and I personally find this a little insulting. You know, if I go over to friends and family, they're like, okay, Len's here. We're shutting off our phones. And it's like, you really think I needed the microchips to get you? I've been breaking into stuff since, you know, before networks were even a thing. I don't need these. They just make my life easier.
If I go to conferences from now on, just if I can't take a selfie, I'm not getting pictures.
I was literally just about to say, y'all need to get hip to these little tripods that you could take with you. Cause I ain't taking no pictures. You're not touching my phone. Hell nah. This is
and if I can just get to that point where, you know, people go, you know what, after listening to this guy, I'm not giving my phone to anybody. I feel like I've done something, you know, because a lot of people, especially with the release of my documentary back on the 8th, and, you know, I'll let y'all know we will be releasing publicly as of January 1st. I am doing selective screenings of the documentary between now and the end of the year. The next screening is going to be at Hacker Halted in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is a full featured documentary where it goes into a lot of the questions that you're talking about in terms of what made me want to do this. And we actually got my body mechanic to actually allow us to film me getting my latest implant.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to watch.
The one thing that I'm going to focus in on there is, as I said, my body mechanic. Mm-hmm. We don't go to doctors.
Touched on the next question.
I love role playing this with people.
This is some hood shit right here.
Because I thought he was still going to the tattoo artist. Honestly.
No.
My boy Ray down the street, guys.
I was wondering where he was going, so I'm glad we made it to this point.
Well, I love to role play this with people, and let's do this together, shall we? Hello, Dr. So-and-so. Yes, I need to make an appointment. What for? Well, I bought this thing off the internet. They shipped it to me. I want you to cut me open and... Hello? Hello?
You are now speaking to the psychiatrist.
Yes. No, I didn't want the psych ward. No doctor will touch me with a 10-foot pole due to the concerns around medical malpractice. So we actually go to body mechanics. And yes, it sounds very cyberpunk, and I think in a lot of ways, at least for me, it is. You know, I walk in there with a piece of hardware, and in some cases, it's as simple as a needle that's as big around as a pen. And in other cases, it's scalpels, it's dermal elevators, it's separating the skin from the muscle tissue, and there's no anesthetic for any of it.
What's the training for this?
Well,
I love a good Ray. I love a good Ray. But what Ray going to school for? Like, what did Ray do?
The training for this is doing like I've been getting body piercings, doing flesh hook suspensions. And basically, I've looked at my body as my own personal temple to do whatever I want with for a very, very long time.
Period.
But my hopes by all of this is not to try and scare people per se. I know I'm going to, and I know that I do. You know, I've been called out on religious extremist websites for having the mark of the beast. I've been physically assaulted by people just because I exist. And when it comes to a cybersecurity perspective, I've actually done the cardinal sin for IT, and I have not only put out what each one of my chips are, I've even told everybody where they are. So I've basically given up everything. And part of the reason I do that is to shed light to the fact that anytime you take technology and integrate it with the human body, be it selective or medical, you are taking on the vulnerabilities and risks of that technology. Mm-hmm. You know, we've seen at DEF CON many times how, especially in the biohacking village, we can go after CGMs. We can go after glucose pumps. We can go after pacemakers. It's my hopes that by me bringing a lot of this more to the forefront, we can start seeing more security around human technological integrations. I also think it's nothing more than me being a giant neon sign going, default biological humanity is done. There are options now, and there are people like me that are taking them. And just like in any society, you're going to have bad elements. I know for a fact that there are red teamers that are using these types of devices in red team exercises. I use them in red team exercises. The bad guys are using them in real life. And the only reason I think we haven't seen anything in regards to any type of DFIR or a white paper showing augmented humans as that initial foothold is because there's no way to prove that it came from an implant. But I have no doubt that if you look down at some of the MITRE reports on some breaches, all you'll see is an NFC trigger. It doesn't say it's an NFC trigger from a subdermal implant. It could come from anywhere, but there's no reason why it couldn't. So first off, we need to be aware that there are individuals with these type of capabilities like me. We need to be able to increase our defenses and actually start using a layered security approach. And thirdly, we need to start realizing that just as these are creating new attack vectors, they're also opening up new opportunities for individual security. And I'm not saying that human augmentation is the only way to keep the human relevant moving forward, but it is definitely a path that, in my opinion, allows us to remain most of our self-sovereignty and our own independence within this new deep tech world.
You actually went in a direction I was about to ask you next, in terms of you've spent years in offensive security, hacking, just curious about everything tech. And a number of the people that listen to our podcast are early career professionals. And when they think about where we are in terms of tech and offensive security today, what are two things that you feel like they should know immediately? And what is one thing you think they need to be prepared for in the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to offensive security and where we're going?
As a diehard futurist, I can't give you an honest answer to that, but I will give you an answer. And the reason I say I can't tell you what's to expect within the next 5 years is I don't think we know what we're going to have in the next 5 years. The advancement and the speed that we're seeing things happen, autonomous robots, are now a real thing. You've got the robotic canines. If you're looking from an offensive perspective, this is you asked the question, and the one thing that I've always promised is I will give honest answers. I'm not going to give the canned answers that everybody wants to hear. People trying to get into cybersecurity right now, I don't know the viability of this field. I don't. I mean, I'm part of a pen test team, and if we look at just pen testing in general, and offensive security, what does that do? Pen tests are usually done as a result of some type of regulatory requirement. Most people don't hire red teams just because, and the reason being is red team engagements and pen tests are not cheap. You're looking on the low end, probably around $20,000 to $25,000. And on the high end, they can go up into the six figures. And those types of opportunities only show that specific moment in time. So we're seeing much more push towards the continuous threat modeling, things like Horizon 3 AI, Pantera, the AI-driven tools that are basically replacing people like me. Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, I'm getting into IT. What do you think I need to focus on? And I said, learn language. Learn to be the most articulate human being that you can get while studying the fundamentals of cybersecurity. Because I do believe, much to my own dismay, and I really hope that I'm proven wrong, but after spending 35 years in the industry, when it comes down to it, money talks and BS walks. And at the end of the day, most companies are beholden to their shareholders. So if I can spend $1 million for a pen test that's going to tell me I'm okay on Saturday, September 6, 2025, but it can't tell me anything about anything after that, or I can take a subscription model to a continuous threat modeling application that's going to be able to run in production every single day, looking for vulnerabilities, looking for misconfigurations. It's a matter of money. They're not going to go with the more expensive unless there is a specific requirement that it would be done by us.
Gotcha.
So the first thing I would say is really look at the industry. And if you watch, we're seeing more and more people being laid off, especially when it comes into cyber, because everything is being pushed to more automation. So the first thing I would say is if you want to get into cyber, study your fundamentals. Do I think that the OSCP is still a viable thing? Oh yeah, absolutely. But I don't think it's as viable as it was 3 years ago. And I don't think it's going to be as viable in 3 years as it is today. So I think having a base understanding of threat modeling and I think knowing more about TTPs and things like the MITRE framework and being able to articulate how you can put that into a prompt is going to become one of the most important skills there is. I was reading an article on Futurist about a month ago, and one of the top analysts, and if you don't believe me, I'll send you guys the link so you can add it to the notes of the podcast. But it basically said that giving a college graduate the advice of learning to code by today's standards is actually worse advice than telling somebody that they should get a face tattoo.
What? That is a hot take.
And the reason being is nobody is worrying about coding anymore because everything is moved to vibe coding with some type of an AI assistant.
Man.
I'm sorry to be the dark prophet, but
Well, then.
I mean, I know 7 top tier OPSEC guy and pen testers, and all of them are in similar situations right now just because of the way that the industry is turning. And I do question the long-term viability of cyber unless you're in some type of a managerial prompt engineering role. I mean, we saw it when it came to pushing code through pipelines. When was the last time you saw a human actually push an update? Everything's done via Chef, Puppet, or some type of an automation because you can build checks and balances in. Yeah. It's only going to be a matter of time until this completely, in my opinion, dominates our industry. I don't think it's going to remove us completely, but I think we're going to have to learn how to adapt and work within these frameworks. Because at the end of the day, if you ask me, and I remember my very first job in IT, we were answering to the financial department. And it became very apparent to me very early in my career that IT, we're a cost center. We're not a profit center, and we are basically a necessary evil. And if they could find a way to do it without us, they would.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah,
I feel
was
that
thinking about that recently.
for sure. Real quick, because we're recording now, but we weren't recording before. But you had a book in your hand before.
Oh, yes, absolutely. This is my first book. It's called Human Hacked: My Life and Lessons as the World's First Augmented Ethical Hacker. I was published through Wiley Press, and we released last October. So you can find this along with information about where you can see the screenings of my documentary on my website, www.i-am-machine. So that's I am machine with dashes in between.com.
Right on. And you like you said, he's going to be presenting his documentary at Hacker Halted, day 2, I believe.
Day 2, and we're also the wonderful people over at EC Council and Hacker Halted. Also, to the best of my knowledge, they've got books, so we will be doing a book signing, and I'm also doing the first iteration of my new talk. So I've spent the last several years going out there trying to get people to understand the vulnerabilities that are posed by people such as myself, but I've decided it's time for us to move away from that. The shock value is over. I've shown everyone that, yes, we can do this. Now it's time to show how these are, in my opinion, the easiest and most viable path forward for human relevancy. So I have my new keynote, which I will be doing for the first time there. It's called Humanity 2.0, the next frontier of security and survival.
Oh, that's dope. Well, for those who are going to attend, and if you haven't bought your tickets yet, use our code. I think it's HHSOS. I don't remember, but it'll be in the description. So use our code, 50% off tickets. We're excited. We're going to be there. So we're looking forward. I'm going to get a book and I want you to sign it, please.
Hey, we can do some selfies. I'll take the picture.
No, we're not doing that.
My work here is done. I have
Don't let them hold your phone.
Wait, look, I'm going to pop up with a Polaroid.
So I can't thank you guys enough. This was just a lot of fun, and just one last thing that I wanted to show you guys before I leave, and this is something special. So I talk a lot about all of my chips, but one of the things that we never got to is the fact that all of these are passive. So these are just like having an access card. I need the energy field off of the reader in order to energize the chips and actually transmit the data. So what I'm working on now is I am completely off the purchasable stuff, and now we're in custom stuff. So this right here is actually a prototype that is being worked on over at Dangerous Things. This and y'all don't look old enough to remember this, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway. It's a cult classic. Remember Johnny Mnemonic?
I don't.
Yeah, but
See, this is what happens when you're old. Johnny Mnemonic was a movie, one of Keanu Reeves' early movies, where he was a courier with a hard drive in his brain. And he was smuggling out bad data. And you know this is old because he actually used a stacker and a double stacker to double the size of his storage capacity. And we haven't been able to do that in a while. But this right here is actually an implantable 1 terabyte hard drive. So one of my next implants is actually going to give me the ability to exfiltrate data.
That's
Stop.
wild. If you are listening and you have no idea what exfiltrating data is, this man touches your phone to take a photo for you because you got an extra person that you want in your photo. While he's taking your picture, he just downloading your information, bank account info, documents, whatever you have, up to a terabyte. Do you know
Up
how
to a
much
terabyte.
data? That's crazy.
And honestly, that's only one of them. These are actually two of my two new implants that are going to be going in within the next month. And these are the new MyFair Classic V2s. So I can actually put physical access cards, put them down to a chip, compromise physical security with 0 IOCs. And the cool thing is once again, since they're inside my body, when the police show up, all they can do is tell me to just get off your property and don't come back. The difference is you don't know what I've done with the other 11 implants while I was in that room.
Like I said, he only ever gonna see the outside of the White House. Never gonna see the inside of that joint. That's crazy. No, oh wow, that's amazing. I wish we had like hours more time actually, because this is crazy.
So there I was wanting to ask him
go
what
ahead.
he does to disconnect, and then I'm like, how do you?
He can't. He can't.
That's not the question. You know what my favorite question is? I love going to those websites where it's like, CAPTCHA, prove that you're human. I'm like, how am I supposed to do that? Or prove you're not a robot. How do I do that?
Yeah, I've seen some titles like of things you've been on as like cyborg and I'm like,
Yep.
you look like a regular person to me.
I at the end of the day, I still think I'm a human. I just think I'm possibly the first half step past default biology. And the funny thing is back to your partner's question about what do I think about in the next 5 years. I think within the next 5 years, people are going to look at what I'm doing and think that I'm a dinosaur. I think it's going to move that fast. And I'd love to leave you guys with one thought to ponder. Everybody questions me and what I've done and why I've done it. And I'll be honest, when I got the credit card implant, I'm like, this is going to be the implant that's going to break the stigma. This is going to show people that this is not, I'm not immediately a threat just because I did this. Most of the people with these implants use them as a replacement for a key fob or something. They're not using them for offensive purposes. I am, but most people are just like, I don't want to have to carry my badge, or I have a Tesla and I want to be able to just get in my car and drive. So they'll implant a Tesla key in their arm so they can just get in their car and drive. It's more convenient. But there's a new medical grade implant that just recently was released. And this is how I like to personally kind of sign off, because I want people to think about this. I've heard everything from I'm crazy to I'm stupid to what is wrong with me. I'm mentally challenged. I wanted to make my job easier. I'm a pen tester. So are y'all familiar with the new sleep apnea implant?
I'm not.
Nope.
No.
So the medical science has now released a new in vivo implant that goes right here in the hollow of your collarbone They run a wire up to the muscle here in the bottom of the jaw. It's connected to your cell phone, and at night, rather than having to wear a sleep apnea mask, and almost everybody knows somebody that suffers from sleep apnea. And having to travel with those things can get to be a real pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
So they now have a surgical implant that will go in, and when you turn it on, it will put in electrical stimulation to the muscle in the bottom jaw, which forces the bottom jaw to move forward a little bit, thereby opening up the airway. What's the difference between them and me? There is a way to do this. There is a CPAP machine. It's been around for years. All it is an inconvenience. So even though it's medical, this is not by any means a mandatory or required procedure. The only reason to get this is to aid in the convenience of your life. So why are they any different than me? And if that's the case, we as a society may want to stop looking at our bodies as celestial temples that should be the same from birth to death. And that is the challenge. You know, I still have my own beliefs. I don't think I'm any different than anyone else. The only choice, except for the fact that I have chosen to enhance my capabilities. I don't personally feel that makes me any less of a human.
I agree.
I'm over here like, what capabilities should I start?
Wait, look, I'm over here like that magnet thing is real cool. I could do magnets.
I do believe that the authentication chips, these may be that next step, because you can't steal my MFA.
That's fire.
Yeah,
that's fire. I like that. That was a good way to sign off. I like that a lot.
This has been absolutely
perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
So thank you.
Well, yes. Well, thank you. Endless gratitude. I know this was like super, super last minute. And I mean, shout out to the folks at EC Council, Amber. Like, thank you,
Amber's
Amber.
Awesome.
Thank you for hooking this up because, man, this was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Endless gratitude.
My pleasure.
We appreciate having this opportunity to talk to you, learn a little bit about you. Like, we're hoping we get to meet you in Atlanta.
I would love to meet you guys in Atlanta. We'll let somebody else take the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you ever want to go down the rabbit hole on where we're going, maybe we can do this again sometime.
Yes.
Love it.
I love that. For sure.
All right. There are people who will probably absolutely want to know more about what you're teaching, the book, the documentary. So where is the best place for people to get in touch with you, Len?
If you're looking to get just basic information, my website, www.i-am-machine.com. I'm extremely active on LinkedIn. And if you're looking to have me come and do any type of speaking or any opportunities, I would say reach out to my publicist, Latanya. Her name is Latanya O'Kelly, and she can be found at Latanya, Latanya, at the O'Kelly, Okelly, factor.com.
Perfect. To everybody else, as always, we're always glad that you're here for an episode of the Stats on Stats podcast. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next time.
Yes, my Cash App is still my first name and my last name. Stay wavy.
Later, guys.
Thanks for telling me that.
Wait, no. Hold on.